Hey guys, welcome into our weekend news wrap-up. It's starting to get cool here in England. I've got my little beanie on, I've got the jacket on. We're here in the lovely Ely, right by the calm river. A couple things we're going to talk about today. We're moving past the election because everyone knows, please let's not talk about that anymore. So, a few things. The first one is this. I want you guys to get used to this term called the GZero World. What does this mean? Well, basically it means whereas before, right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, up until now, the United States has basically been the sort of unipolar power. But as other nations are rising, and as the United States, particularly under the Trump presidency, kind of recedes back, what you're going to see is sort of a vacuum of leadership in different parts of the world. And so, for instance, if you take Europe, a lot of people are saying, and Obama just met with Angela Merkel this past week, are saying, who's going to fill some of that leadership void? A lot of people are looking to Germany. Will Germany fill more of that void? I think they should. I mean, they're by far economically, I think they're the most powerful state, but for historical reasons, they might be a little bit more hesitant to take on a more leadership role in Europe, and because of some of their fiscal policies. So that's happening there. It's obviously happening in Asia. People are vying for power. Definitely China wants a bigger seat at the table. India, you might say Japan. So just keep this concept in mind, the G0 world. Where regionally around the world, where will different countries sort of pop up and take more of that leadership role as the U.S. declines in power because A, other powers are rising, and because maybe the new Trump administration wants to take a little bit more of a step back, focus more on domestic issues. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind around the world, Aleppo, new bombings have happened. I think 13 or 14 people have been killed just this week again. The Russians are sort of closing in. The Syrians are sort of closing in. Food is dwindling. It looks like a really bleak situation there. But again, the most important thing is until the U.S. and the West are willing to commit to ground forces in Syria, this is going to be the reality. As long as you have a ground force, as long as Russia and Syria have people on the ground, they will dictate the terms of what happens in Syria. The U.S. and the West can say whatever they want, they can cry foul as much as they want, but if they're not willing to put any skin in the game, then nothing will change. But at the same time, can you blame them? I mean, we're going to talk about Syria on our channel, on our radio station, but what are you going to do in Syria? If you topple the Assad regime, what happens? What takes its place? I mean, it's a bedrock. It's a seeding ground of jihadism, of terrible factional warfare. So, you know, it's a really, really difficult situation for the international community. But again, remember, Russia, Syria have troops on the ground, so ultimately they will dictate what happens. Okay, guys, other things we can talk about, but I'll probably cap it there. Remember, we've got our radio program, so keep a lookout for that. I'll put posts on Facebook. Stay warm if you're in the northern hemisphere. Enjoy the summer if you're in the southern hemisphere. And remember, reality always trumps ideology.